Davis Warren's been pretty good, and he's taking care of the ball. 2 straight games with no turnovers for Michigan. They have to keep that going on the road. You don't win road games, by turning the football over. Probably win the turnover margin, as we say every week, is a big goal in this game, because you give yourself a chance, right? If you create some havoc on the other end, which we'll talk about right now as we shift into the defense, then maybe you put the offense in some good spots. We saw, their only first half touchdown last week against Oregon came off of a short field after the Joe Taylor forced fumble on the punt return. But Michigan might be healthier defensively in this game. Jair Hill trending toward probably playing. Were Sharon Moore's words about him. He said, we'll see. On Will Johnson, that was kind of the line he gave last week, and Will Johnson did not dress, of course, still recovering from his injuries. But Indiana, offensively, averaging 46.6 points a game, pretty ridiculous. Again, you have to adjust a little bit for the competition. We'll see how they finish this month. Is probably most importantly in terms of telling the story on what exactly this offense is. But Kurtis Rourke, the transfer from Ohio at quarterback, has been maybe the revelation of the college football season, the surprise of the college football season. He was the MAC Offensive Player of the Year in 2022, second-team All-MAC last year, comes to Indiana and raises his level of play with some receivers from James Madison, some offensive linemen from James Madison, some guys who came back for Indiana. He's completed 73.3% of his passes, 2,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks. Looked really good last week at Michigan State, about a week after receiving, or maybe, a week and a half after getting surgery on his thumb. So he looks good to go, and this is a good team with some weapons that you don't usually see Indiana have, which is, something that's really helped this year. He's have guys around him.
And some RPOs they run, and I mean they're gonna make life miserable, I think, for this Michigan linebacker core. Number one, they're gonna have to tackle a lot better. Ernest Hausman's had his ups and downs. Same with Jay Sean Barham. They've both played better, but this is going to be a huge test for them. And to me, I don't think they're going to throw all over them. I think Michigan's defensive line can do some things, but this offensive line is stout. These guys play so well together. They pick up stunts and twists and everything together. And I just like the way they play. I hate to say it, but I'm a little envious, as even as a Michigan guy, of the way these guys play together. This is kind of reminiscent of what we've seen with Michigan football the last 3 years. And I'm not saying they're as good as Michigan. They're not going to win a national championship, most likely, but they could very well make the playoff. And they're going to be a tough out even when they go to Columbus. Mark my words. I will say that right now. Indiana is going to give Ohio State a tough game down there in Columbus. So, but yeah, it's going to be they aren't going to be giving up the big plays, in my opinion, but you're going to have more of the same, where teams drive right down the field on them. You're going to have to hold them to some field goals. Third down defense is going to be big in this game. I'm sorry, red zone defense. Third down, obviously, because that's one of the huge disadvantages for Michigan against this Indiana team. I think they're 7th. Michigan is 110th in third down defense. And something sounds spooky there. And then and then red zone defense. I got to keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah, I think a big key too is obviously pressure. As Clayton noted in his opponent preview that he does a tremendous job with each week. Kurtis Rourke has only been under pressure for 20% of his dropbacks this year. Michigan's going to want to crank that up a little bit, see if they can't get him to make a mistake. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. This feels like one of those games where, Oregon, it was a lot of explosives. I feel like this is this has a chance to kind of be one of those death by 1,000 paper cut games where, you're in a 3rd and 6 and they pick it up and, they go on a 10-11 play drive, because it just doesn't seem like, when these opposing offenses get rolling, Michigan's able to kind of get off the field quickly. Now, when they stopped Oregon last week, you just kind of force a couple 3 and outs and you're off the field, and bada bing, your offense has a chance to do something. And they didn't oblige there, but it all comes down to complementary football. Get yourself in those short fields, make them drive the field. Unfortunately, I just feel like they're going to kind of they're aggressive, but I feel like they're going to be patient too. I don't see Indiana getting frustrated with some of the things that Wink Martindale is going to throw at them. So be nice to have reinforcements back in the secondary, at least one in Jair Hill, if he's able to go. But yeah, something else I'd be interested in finding out, if they do I think we all probably expect them to lose this game, but it seems like every game that they've lost this year or will have a chance to lose, the quarterback they're going up against has started like at least 35 games in his career. I think last week, Dylan Gabriel, it was like his 53rd career start or something like that. Kind of getting got by these veteran quarterbacks who have seen a little bit of everything. So we'll see. It's going to be tough. It's just a group that does everything well. They even protect fairly well. And, they have a guy that puts them in position to succeed. So it's going to be a challenge for them. I just see a much more poised offense than the defense it'll be going up against.
The experience for Kurtis Rourke stands out. Like, that's what experience gives you, is the way he's playing this year. This will be his 42nd career start. 33 of them coming at Ohio, 8 this season. Of course, missed the one game. But when people use the cliche, the game's slowing down for him, the game has slowed down. When you watch him play, it's like you're watching it in slow motion because he makes such good decisions. Chris, you mentioned the RPOs that they run quite a bit of. He's just so decisive, but it's not like he rushes anything. He's kind of methodical and just accurate. And even when he's rolling out, he's not fast, but he just kind of keeps his eyes downfield. Makes an accurate throw. If a guy's scrambling, he throws it to the right side of the guy's body. That one beautiful touchdown on an example of that last week against Michigan State. They run a lot of RPOs, as we mentioned. They're 15th nationally with 10.9 yards per attempt on RPO passes. They average 5.8 yards per rush on RPO runs. That's 43rd in the country. And as you mentioned, Chris, the linebacker coverage is going to be huge. Or do you blitz them, right? Because then he could just pull the ball out and throw it right down the middle. And 106 of his 154 completions, that's 68.8%, have been thrown to the middle third of the field. So it's going to be the safeties, the linebackers. And when you think about the defensive line trying to control this game and take over, it's harder to do when you don't know exactly what's coming, run or pass. So you can't pin your ears back necessarily. There will be some downs to do that, but they keep you on your toes. And of course, you can't run the most complex plays in the world out of those sets either. So it's give and take, right? If you're Indiana running those, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. Anything else on this Michigan defense that really has to keep them in the game, right? They can't allow. You probably got to win this game. You got to hold them to like 21 or less, maybe 24 at the most, and maybe that means you even get the ball out a couple times to help the offense.
Yeah, tackling, right? Yeah. Get them down and get them on the field. To me, that's going to be one of the keys to this game, as it always is. But more against Oregon than Michigan State. You can't have the 10, 12 missed tackles in this game. They got to get them down on the ground.
Yeah, nothing really further to add there. You hope for the best because there's a lot of talent on that Michigan defense. And if they have a good day, this can be a close game. But everything's got to kind of work in unison, and that hasn't happened a whole ton this year.
I'm tired of saying stuff like this, but, does Michigan have the 4 most talented players probably on the field in this game? You continue to think that. Like when I mentioned on the podcast after the Illinois game, I was standing there by the tunnel as they walk off the field, and it's like I'm walking by guys like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Will Johnson and Colson Loveland, all these guys, and they play their best, but like there's a lot more talent on the Michigan side. You don't want to lose to some of these teams. I know this is a really experienced team with a bunch of seniors, a bunch of guys that have done it. They play together because a lot of them played together at James Madison, but still, if you're Michigan, it's one you can get, although it does not look likely.